Hello friends, this is kind of a scary video to be sharing with all of you, but there's some important lessons learned and some good things that came out of it, so we felt like we should share it with you. This was supposed to be a deer hunting video of Mark and Hunter, and I'll let Mark explain before you see the footage of what happened.
So a few weeks ago I was excited to go on this deer hunt. We'd just gotten recently from a moose hunt, but deer hunting is a really fun pastime of ours, and it's exciting to go with the boys.
Hunter really wanted to get a deer.
And so I hadn't taken the boys moose hunting, and so they really wanted to get out and experience that. But deer hunting and any type of, the line between where things can go drastically wrong is really close sometimes, because it's a wild place we live in. And we try and do everything we can to do things as safe as we can. And in this case, I'd been watching for weeks for the weather window, and finally there was a weather window where it looked like for 3 days you're going to have good weather, because sometimes in the fall they say you can have a 4-day storm every 3 days, and it feels like that, where big storms come up off the Aleutian Islands and roll through Alaska just day after day. And so we finally had good weather. I had some friends that could come. Hunter was out of school and I had the day off, and so things just looked perfect, like it was just lining up, and just felt okay. There was the kind of nervous excitement of these type of trips. They're not simple. I mean, we're getting in an airplane, we're flying 150 miles over the Chugach mountain range out into the edge of Alaska, right on the coast. You're landing on a beach. You're miles and miles away from the nearest town, and so there's infinite things that could go wrong, but we try and do everything we can to be safe, and have had great trips, really exciting and fun trips in the past. And this one didn't quite go how we had planned.
So if you watched our moose hunting videos, Mark had just been using his airplane. We have a Cessna 170B airplane, and he had just been using it for the moose hunt. Everything went great. It also just went through an annual review. These small airplanes, they're old, and so every single year you have to get it checked out by an airplane mechanic, like top to bottom. They look through everything that had already been done. So just keep that in mind as we share what happened on this deer hunt.
Yeah. Love ya. We'll be safe. Bye, Everett.
Like this.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, Dad.
Bye, Dad.
Bye, Daddy.
Bye, Violet.
Bye-bye.
Oh, you don't need
Bye.
I'm waiting.
So after saying goodbye to the family, we headed out to the airport and did our normal pre-flights. We checked the oil and it was normal. Untied the plane, loaded it up, and we were excited. We love deer hunting in the fall and early winter.
Alright, we're getting a whole load in here.
Pushed the plane out and everything just seemed normal and working well. We got in and put on our seatbelts and started up the plane. It was a little bit cold and slow starting, but normal otherwise.
What? It's cold. It's kind of slow to get going.
Taxiing out, everything seemed just fine. Took off without incident and climbed up to altitude, and just a gorgeous flight over the mountains. Here we're climbing up over Eagle River and heading out over the Chugach Mountains. It was gorgeous and beautiful. About 40 minutes had gone by when the incident happened, and then all of our focus was on getting the plane safely over to a place we could land. As you can see here, the oil pressure was 0, and at this point I'd reduced the power and we were essentially gliding into the town of Girdwood to land. We were so high, which I had stayed as high as I could for safety reasons, that we needed to do some arcing turns around the valley, always staying within gliding distance of the airport. It made me nervous as we were coming in here because even though the engine seemed to be idling just fine, I knew I really had one shot to make this landing because I didn't know if I'd have full power again to go around and make another attempt at it. And so I was really trying to be careful about judging my distance. If I came in too fast and too high, we'd overshoot the runway, and too low, I'd have to give it power settings and wouldn't make it to the runway. As we're descending down here, I can occasionally get glimpses of the oil pressure there, and it was at 0 the entire time. As we pulled off the runway, my heart the emotional weight just kind of fell from me of all that stress, and I was just so grateful. I said a quick little prayer and was so thankful that we landed safely. We just made an emergency landing in Girdwood, Alaska. That was really, really scary. We're about 30 miles out, pretty much where we're not going to have any runways for a long ways over water and mountains, and I looked over and the oil pressure was dropped a lot and something was wrong with the engine, so I turned immediately and praying and hoping we could get back over to our runway, and we landed. We got to see what's going on. Oh my gosh. No, it's fine, Hunter. It should be cold because we descended real far. What I want to see is there oil. Is there oil? Hunter, look at this. Something is wrong. Get under here, Hunter. So we had some kind of oil leak. There's oil everywhere.
Oh, that is really bad.
Yeah.
It's all the way back to the very back of the plane.
We're not flying anywhere.
Take a picture. What's your thing?
Oh my gosh. We had some kind of catastrophic oil failure there, and that could have been really scary.
It's like cold, so cold.
Thank you, Heavenly Father. Thank you. Let's see how much oil I really had.
I'm gonna send this to Mark Webb right now.
No, well. Yes, call Mom. Call Mom right now. No. Call Mom. Let her know we're okay. I'm checking the dipstick. I should have 8 quarts of 8 quarts of oil.
Dad, it's all the way back here. Oh my gosh, your tail wheel is coated. I don't think Mom has...
So on the dipstick, it's barely reading. It's a miracle I saw that.
Is there like...
Hunter, this is it on the dipstick.
Oh my god.
That's it.
Alright, I'm calling Grandma.
That's fine. That's it. We were close. I'm so glad. I mean, looking under here, there's just oil everywhere. I lost 8 quarts of oil in 30 minutes of flying or something, which is a ton. Everywhere down, oil down the whole back of the plane. It's not flying anywhere for a while until we can get this worked out. Well, Hunter, that was almost could have been life or death. Like if we had not turned around and this engine had failed and we were over all that stuff, it would have been life or death.
Stinks. I went down a little bit.
There's nowhere to land out there for a long ways.
It's just ice fields.
I mean, it was...
The only place there is to land is on the highway.
Yeah. So, I mean,
It's a rough item to land on the highway.
Yeah, that was my next if I had to.
Right.
So
But you did
Oh.
good, bud. You kept your
Okay.
brain.
Thanks,
you
man.
kept thinking. Good job.
flew it
Good job.
to the ground, which is what we had to do.
Yeah.
Scary.
Remember, never stop flying until it stops.
Yep.
You did good, and I think you maybe saved the engine too.
I hope so. I hope so.
So what I do is tomorrow I'll plan on taking a trip to Girdwood.
Okay, we'll go and
Yeah, and then what we'll do is we'll change all the gaskets, we'll tighten everything, and we'll safety wire it all up.
I'm so glad that I got back, because like when we were moose hunting too, I mean, I was going over, I had 120-mile legs out to the village, and there was nowhere to land, you know. It was 120 miles of
And they obviously wouldn't
Except
respond to
for
SOSs.
Except for in the trees and
into the
landing-
trees, or you know, into the swamp, or you know, it just was nowhere that would be good.
Could have been bad news.
Yeah. Hey, I
But
wanted.
the thing is, the boys are okay.
Yep.
You're okay.
Yep.
The airplane's still intact.
Yep.
You know. Yeah.
Count our blessings.
Hey, say a prayer tonight.
Yeah, well, we already said a bunch. We already said a bunch, man. I'll be in touch later tonight then, but it'll be a while till we get back. But yeah, thanks for being willing to jump up and come. But let's go tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. So let's do it tomorrow, and then I'll have everything ready to go, and then I'll
Okay.
bring gaskets for all the other stuff too,
Okay.
just in case there's something else that is causing us problems.
Okay.
Okay, and I'll get right on it.
Sounds
'Cause,
good.
you know,
We got a plan to come back tomorrow and see if we can fix it. But I just feel so grateful. I got emotional. I almost started crying there talking to him, because man, that you got to fly the plane to the ground. If you panic, you freak out, you're dead. And you know, I just feel really grateful that training kind of kicked in and was able to just do what I needed to do to get it down safely. And looks like I probably didn't destroy the engine. We were real close. But so now it's time to tie up the plane, get it all settled, and my parents are going to drive down here and pick us up and regroup and lick our wounds. You brought that? At least we got it, I guess. Being alive by sharing a little Debbie with Hunter.
Naked and
Nuttin', what's it? Nutty Buddy, Hunter. This is our celebratory toast to each other. Oh man, here you go. So grateful we are okay. Let's just lay him over here. I don't want him to fall down. Not the way I was hoping to unload at the camping area for hunting, but I appreciate it. We were able to carry all the quarters right to the boat. It was that close. It wouldn't have always been that case, but
it wouldn't at all.
my parents just showed up, thankfully. We can get everything loaded up. Oh, Dad, come look at, well, it's dripping oil on the ground still. We got H4 everywhere. And I can see it coming down. There's a gasket on the oil filter. Well, we just made it home. It's 8 o'clock at night and just emotionally exhausted. I'm going to see Lauren. Hey. Oh man, Mom up there? Where's Mom? Oh, Bennett, I'm just so grateful to be back safe. Hey, you guys got pumpkins? Oh my goodness, Weston. Scared.
We got sushi for you.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, hi, hon. I'm so glad we're okay. Oh, good. Oh, scary. So as you saw in the footage, we had an emergency landing at Girdwood, Alaska. And I felt so fortunate that that airstrip was there. Because as we landed, the oil pressure gauge was showing 0. There was no oil really going through the engine. And just, that's really scary. Engines have to have oil because they'll seize up, they'll self-destruct, and it could be a few minutes, it could be 20, 30 minutes. You don't know how long it's going to run and you pretty much are destroying the engine to try and save your life, which is a scary, scary thought.
And you also, when you saw the gauge low, you didn't know how long it had been dropping necessarily, because you hadn't like seen it and then watched it, you know.
But I could see as soon as I made that decision to turn around, it started going down further and further, and I was so grateful. Where we turned around, I just feel so grateful, like there was Heavenly Father was watching over us, because had we pressed on further, I mean, we were entering kind of the danger zone. I mean, we had flown over glaciers and mountains before this, but we were at a point of kind of like no turning back almost, because it was 40 more miles to a tiny remote village that's way out there. We'd be flying over water. I mean, looking down from where we were at, it was one of the highest tides of the year, and there was no beaches showing. The wind was blowing like 30 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour out of the north down below. It was below zero. It was freezing. There was snow. I mean, this was like the worst you could kind of hope for on that aspect.
They had timed it so that when they landed, the tide would be going down, so they could land on the beach at the perfect time, but they were still in the air, so to do an emergency landing. But that's how it is when you fly in Alaska, and you prepare for these things, and you're always keeping that in your mind, like watching for places that you can land. But when you get out there, you kind of just have to get to your destination, or in this case, he felt a prompting to do something different.
Yeah. So in the moment, I just acted, and I think after I've thought about it and the adrenaline and the fear subsided, I realized how much that I was guided to do the right thing. Yeah. Because when I saw that gauge read 30 psi, sometimes you see stuff and you think, you reason, or you think maybe it's not right, or I don't know. You could make all these choices, but in that moment, I instantly saw it and I turned towards safety. And I was so grateful, because at times there's been a lot of times in my life where I've second guessed, should I do this, or I should keep going, or the weather's not so good and we'll try and tough it out, or maybe it'll be okay. But in this instant, I knew in my heart and I knew in my mind what I needed to do, which was amazing. And I feel like that was a real blessing, and I feel like that was the Spirit telling me what to do, and it kept me calm. I was just calm, and I told Hunter, I said, hey, you need to contact our friends, you need to send I gave him the phone. I just started saying, you start texting everybody, tell them what's going on. And I got on the radio and I started calling out for help from other planes, and there was people there that answered and kind of gave me encouragement. And but the thing is, in that instant, I turned around, because every second, in hindsight, every second I was going further into danger. And we were able to turn back, and we had to cross over a ridge that was almost 6,000 feet high. We were at about 8,000 feet. And I went directly towards the nearest safe runway. And I could see that gauge just dropping, and it kind of paused for a bit around 15. And then the engine temperature gauge started going way down. And that was, at the time, I was perplexing. I didn't know what was going on. Why is that the case? And then it kind of started piecing together as we were, every minute, we turned around, we had a headwind. And so our airspeed, or our ground speed, went down to about 85 miles an hour. We were going to 120 the other direction. And so it just felt like we're crawling along. And the whole time I'm looking down at where we're going, and I knew we're getting closer and closer to a safe landing. But I was looking at the road and the highway, and we got over the highway, and I knew, push come to shove, I could land on the highway. I could land on the mud flats that were out there. And I didn't panic. I don't know why, but I didn't panic. I stayed calm, and we made it to over this valley, and I just felt this burden kind of come off of me somewhat as we got to where I knew I was within gliding distance of this runway, and I lowered the power settings back. And as soon as I did that, the oil had gone down about 10 psi. It dropped to 0 pretty much. And because I think as I kept that pressure, there was a little bit of oil flowing through the engine, kind of keeping this loop. As soon as I did that, it couldn't pick it up anymore. And pretty much the engine was idle. We pretty much glided in and landed, and I had a perfect landing. It was perfect. We had to do a lot of just kind of descending turns, landed, and I put a little bit of throttle in to get off the runway, and I saw the gauge just flicker just a hair, and we turned off the engine, and I got out, and I gave Hunter, we were kind of shook up, gave him a hug, and we said a prayer together, thanks that we made it safely. And but I know that at that moment when I had to make that decision, that the Holy Spirit can speak to your mind and your heart truth. And at that moment, that's what I just had this clarity of that I often haven't had sometimes when I've tried to make important decisions. But in this moment, I didn't hesitate, and I'm just so grateful because
it said turn around, and he just did it. He didn't
I
hesitate. He didn't wait.
I just had this thing in my mind and in my heart. It just said, do this now. And it wasn't like a voice I heard, but it was just something I knew with complete conviction. Turn around now. And there's been so many times before where I'd wondered, oh, should I turn or not, just because things didn't. But at this moment I knew, and I'm just so grateful. And
we have to keep in mind, like, this could happen in your car. Your car something can malfunction, and then you pull off to the side of the road and a tow truck comes and helps you. The same thing happens in these airplanes sometimes. Even though you've kept it in tip-top shape, some things fail. And the problem is you can't just pull over really quickly. You've got to do a lot of problem solving to get that airplane down on the ground. So this doesn't make us not want to fly and think, oh, we're not going to do this anymore. It's just something that you got to be aware of. And we're really grateful that Mark was being watched out for, because I was home with the other kids and I was helping Weston with some homework, and I had set my phone away because I was trying to focus in. And thankfully, well, not thankfully, I wish I'd had it next to me so that I could have been communicating with them, especially if something terrible had happened. But I actually picked up my phone when they were like landing and like, Mom, we're about to land. So I was saved from that 30 minutes of just like terror in that. So I don't know. I'm kind of grateful, but if it had ended badly, I would have wanted to be communicating with them. So after that, for the rest of the evening, I was just kind of numb, and I was like, oh my goodness, it's just really hard when things like this happen. So I went and got the boys dinner, and just like my only goal for the rest of the evening was to just be with the kids and not try and get anything important done, because we were just waiting. Mark's parents went and picked him and Hunter up so that they could get back home. And then he started contacting his airplane mechanic. Actually, they had already been in contact with him, but started planning, okay, what can we do to check on the plane? So here's the next day. They went out there and checked on the plane.
It's 17 degrees here and had all night to reflect. And I'm heading down to go to Girdwood, my mechanic, to see if we can get that plane running again. And just so grateful that it turned out the way it did, because man, there's so many ways that could have gone bad, really bad. So we're heading south and gonna spend all day trying to get that plane working again and see if we can get it flown home this afternoon. All right, well, we spent hour or so cleaning all the oil off the bottom of the plane. We've got the cowling off. We've drained all the oil. I had 1.5 quarts left out of 8, so barely enough to keep things going. And now we're kind of we've got everything taken apart. We're going to reassemble, and I got something to show you.
And got all packed up.
So right here is a gasket that was on the oil filter, and right here on the top of it is you can see where the gasket failed. It got pinched somehow, and that is where all the other places you can see it's nice and kind of folded down, but right at the top it failed. And that somehow it lasted for 10 years. I've had the plane for over 10 years and never had to change this, but then it failed. So that's what we think. We're gonna reassemble it. We got a new gasket to stick in and fill it full of oil, and we're gonna run it up and do some more testing and see if it's good to go.
Yep.
Right here?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, a cattle prod would definitely change my mindset. To give me a hard time.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything either.
Yeah,
I've seen, there's nothing coming up.
No.
So this is a magnet, and we would just cut open the oil filter to see if there's any chunks of metal in there. And if if your engine is self-destructing because of no oil, you're gonna have chunks of metal going into the oil filter. So thankfully, nothing. And so, like I said, really blessed here. And I think we've saved ourselves and the engine. So time to reassemble stuff and see if we can get it working. Oil, and just about ready to run it up and do a test flight. All right, here goes the first run up. We're gonna see how it goes. Okay. So far everything's looking good. We're just letting the engine run, oil pressure's up good. Just kind of checking for leaks. They said there's no oil down there. We're gonna double check, get the cowling on, and see if we can get this thing back up in the air. All right, I did 3 practice landings and we've run it up. There's no oil leaking, so I'm gonna give it a go, climb up to 8,000 or 10,000 feet over the mountains back home. And yeah, it's been an experience. It's 5:30. It's been all day working on this. Made it safely back at our home airport, and feels a real relief. Not an easy flight. I had about 30 to 40 mile an hour headwinds coming over the mountains, so it just felt like I was crawling along, with slowing the actual speed of the plane. But we made it. Oil pressure stayed great. Temperatures, the engine seemed to run really well, so feel really grateful. Hopefully we got that problem taken care of. I'm holding this gasket, the one that failed, in my pocket, keeping this as a souvenir.
about scary as something this simple could kill you.
So as you can see from the footage, there was oil everywhere, and it was we had to kind of clean all that off to see what had really happened. And there was a catastrophic failure. Well, there was a failure of a gasket, and it had been leaking oil for some time, and
just little tiny amounts of oil.
But then it really gave way, and we lost over 7 quarts of oil in a really short time. And when we drained the oil, there was only 1 quart left. I don't know if that was even enough for it to kind of pick up and get up into the engine. And so it was, thankfully, I had a mechanic there and his assistant, and we felt comfortable enough to, we got the engine running again, did a bunch of extensive testing on the ground, and then did a bunch of pattern work flying right close to the runway over and over. And then climbed up to 8,000 feet and shot back over across the mountains to Eagle River and parked it. And I have not flown it since. It's been a couple weeks. We've had a lot going on, and need to get back out there and do some more just thorough review and to get comfortable. I have about 800 hours of flight time over the years, which is a lot for which means I'm not a brand new pilot. I've been doing this for a long time and a lot of experience and hundreds and hundreds of hours in my dad's plane that it wasn't logged that I learned. But I'm grateful for being watched over on this, and I really feel like I'm just so grateful that in that moment I was receptive and my mind was clear and I could make the right decision to save our lives.
As you all know, we've been through quite a lot this last year, and if anything, our faith has just gotten stronger. We know that God is looking out for us and that He loves us, and that doesn't mean you're not going to go through hard things, but we trust Him, and we're grateful that Mark had that clear impression, turn around, and that he followed it. Because I can think of lots of situations where we're just like, maybe just the gauge is off, or it's okay if we just keep flying. It'll work itself out. But that was not the case this time, and I'm so grateful that they're okay. And we just wanted to share that with you all. Yeah, because you guys are like family, and we sometimes we've got to share the good and the bad, but this ended up being a good, very, very good. And plane parts can be replaced, but Mark and Hunter cannot be replaced. So,
and it was really terrifying, but scary. But at the same time, it was a faith-promoting experience for me, I think for Hunter, and just felt like we were watched over in this situation, and also guided to make the right decision.
Thank you so much for watching. We're so grateful for each and every one of you. We love you, and we'll see you again real soon for more of This Alaska Life.